All right, good evening, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. This is the Pittsylvania County Fire and Rescue Commission, Thursday, November 16th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m., 39 Bank Street, Chatham, Virginia. If you would, please call the roll, ma'am.
James Holly.
Here.
Ben Meeks.
Here.
Alan Casper.
Here.
Ward Rowland. Tim Cassell.
Here.
Brian Shields.
Here.
Kermit King.
Here.
Steve Stallings.
Here.
Coleman Mayhew.
Here.
Bert Sellers.
All right, thank y'all. All right, if y'all would, we'll take a moment of silence and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank y'all. If y'all would, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You got me, Chris. All right, let's see. That brings us down to item 5. Any additions or revisions to your agenda? Take a moment, look over the agenda, please. And if you have any revisions or additions, let us know. I'll entertain a motion here, no additions, to accept this agenda.
So moved.
All right, got a second. All right, motion and a second on the floor. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
James Holly.
Yes.
Ben Meeks.
Yes.
Alan Casper.
Yes.
Ward Rowland.
Yes.
Tim Cassell.
Yes.
Brian Shields.
Yes.
Kermit King.
Yes.
Steve Stallings.
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew.
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That brings us down to minutes. Take a few moments and look over the October minutes for approval. I'll entertain a motion on the minutes. So moved. Okay. Got a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
James Holly.
Yes.
Ben Meeks.
Yes.
Alan Casper.
Yes.
Ward Rowland.
Yes.
Tim Cassell.
Yes.
Brian Shields.
Yes.
Kermit King.
Yes.
Steve Stallings.
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew.
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. That brings us down to item 8. We have a presentation tonight from Blair's Fire and Rescue, North Point Apartment Fire. Come on up, sir. The floor is yours.
Let them get that popped up on the screen for me there.
Is there going to be a video with it?
Yes, so there are a couple of slides and some video that accompanies it. Bottom right. There it is. He told me that before we started, and I forgot it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for affording me the opportunity to come to speak to you tonight. My name is Stephen Bartz. I'm a Deputy Chief of Administration at Blair's Fire and Rescue. To begin with, I'd like to offer my personal and my organization's heartfelt condolences to those that were affected by the catastrophic events of Sunday morning. It's difficult to lose all your possessions or suffer physical injury or endure an emotional trauma, but we're eternally grateful that this fire resulted in no loss of human life. Secondly, I'd like to express BFD's gratitude to all the emergency responders that answered the call to action on Sunday morning. The 911 dispatch center staff, the Virginia State Police, the Danville Fire Department, members from Ringgold, Mount Hermon, Kentuck, Keelan, Climax, Gretna, Chatham, Laurel Grove, Callens, Brosville, Cool Branch, Bachelor's Hall, Java, River Bend, Cascade, Dry Fork, Hurt, Mount Cross, Tunstall, and Renan. If you were wondering, that's everybody. As well as the Pittsylvania County Sheriff's Office, the Department of Public Safety, and the Red Cross. This evening, I'm going to speak to you about the initial response to include roughly the first 10 minutes of the on-scene operations at 600 North Point Lane on November the 12th, 2023. The success of those first arriving companies wasn't an accident. It was the result of exceptional people who were well-trained, properly equipped, and who possessed the courage to act and the skill to make a difference when seconds counted. There are several points in time that directly contributed to that positive outcome on Sunday morning. One of those major points being a fire of very similar circumstances that took place on March 25th of 2019. Fire was a daytime incident, but the fire progression within the structure was very similar, with the only real means of egress being quickly involved. Because of the time of day, recognition of the fire happened much earlier, notifications were made quicker, and the response was timely enough to limit significant fire spread. But that fire generated a number of conversations, followed by significant deliberation on our part, plan development, action items. One of those action items were the agreed upon need for an aerial and the full complement of ground ladders that accompany a truck company. Access to the rear or the Charlie side of that building is limited to only portable ground ladders. Though it wasn't real well received at the time, BFD moved ahead, purchased a used Pierce 100-foot ladder truck, placed it in service in July of 21. The members at BFD were trained in the operation of the aerial and its equipment prior to the date it was placed in service. So I'm going to kind of work through a little bit of a timeline that you see on your screen there about these are really the 5 major points of action throughout the response that morning. So the preparation that we have made paid off beginning just after 5 a.m. on Sunday, November the 12th, 2023. The on-scene operations lasted well into the afternoon, almost a total of 12 hours, but I'm just going to focus on those first 10 minutes. That event started with the dispatchers taking calls and immediately dispatching resources. Simultaneously, they were taking calls from trapped occupants, from witnesses, all while trying to discern the location of those trapped occupants and relaying that information to those responding units. When they realized the gravity of the situation, the dispatchers took it upon themselves to hit countywide prior to first arrival, so very early on, pouring fire suppression and EMS resources toward the scene. That early activation and the allocation of resources provide a support system for the first-in companies as they expended all their energy on the rescues and that initial suppression activity. Those same dispatchers were responsible for interagency communication with Danville Fire, Danville Life Saving Crew, the air ambulances that were en route, the Sheriff's Department, all while attempting to guide the on-scene personnel into the direction of those that were trapped. So that takes care of the en route part of it. For the arrival portion, our engine 342, and our ladder 34, were the first arriving companies. So as far as we can tell, this is the earliest pre-arrival photograph that we were able to find. Notice the heavy involvement of the open stairway that was centered on the A side there. The first arriving companies were faced with numerous civilians, both on foot and in vehicles, attempting to flee the scene, impeding their movement toward the fire and making apparatus placement difficult. The apparatus had to traverse roughly 400 yards of a tight parking lot. If you've ever been in there, the 600 building is almost the last building in line. They're all just lined up down the driveway there. Engine 342, ladder 34 arrived at the fire building to find a roughly 200 by 65 3-story wood frame multifamily with heavy fire involvement on the alpha side, fire from the first to the third floor. Occupants were showing on the balconies and windows at the first and second floors and actively jumping from those lower floors. Engine 342's driver parked the rig at a hydrant, went to work securing water. The members not involved in the rescue efforts began stretching on the fire building. Ladder 34's driver positioned the rig to flow water from the ladder pipe when he figured out that high volume of fire on the A side meant the stick wasn't going to be used for rescue and fire conditions were going to pose a danger to the apparatus. So that's for the en route en route and arrival. So when we get to the rescue portion of it, so after 342 stopped and the operator began hooking the hydrant, Virginia State Troopers removed a 24-foot ladder from the officer's side, transported it, and threw it to the second floor on the B side. Firefighters were removed a 35-foot ladder from ladder 34, traversed nearly 100 yards of parking lot and open green space, threw it to the B side to the Bravo third floor where occupants were showing from the windows. A firefighter ascended the ladder, assisted the victims onto the ladder, and descended it with them. Still early in the response, manpower was extremely limited, making that rescue difficult. Fire conditions now included involvement of the A side of the attic from B to D and all the way to the attached adjacent 608 building. So there are actually two structures there that are attached with a fire break in between. The entire Bravo side of that full structure was well involved. So I'm going to click and show you. This is a helmet cam video from one of our guys. I know it's a little hard to see because it's dark, but you're going to see the folks start descending the ladder. Look at the fire conditions on the roof. I want you to notice the additional involvement of the Alpha side as the firefighter comes back around. The audio's off, but you would hear dispatch saying that there's another family on the third floor preparing to jump. They've got them on the phone. The ladder 34 operator toward the end is sprinting back toward the truck to get another 35 to go to the C side for those rescues. And at this point, we've got other members on the Charlie side that are trying to find the occupants that we're being told are still there. So that's 2 minutes and 35 seconds from the time that those units arrived and that the occupants were safely on the ground. We know this from the dispatch calls, and give us a little bit of grace with the timeline because not everything's time stamped, but that's the best that we could come up with. So the second rescue, which was on the Charlie side, as more members began to arrive, dispatch relays that they're on the phone with occupants that are trapped on the C side of the building and on the balcony and preparing to jump. At first, those trapped occupants were not apparent to us, and the balconies appeared to be involved, as you're going to see in a second through a video. The fire has spread through the breezeway from the A to the C. It's up that open stairwell and onto the balconies from the first to the third floor in the rear. So members finally located the victim showing from a window on the Charlie side, oriented on the Delta side of the 600 building in an alcove where the outside air conditioning units set at ground level. Command transmits that they've located those victims and are in need of a 35. The 35 that was on the Bravo side was removed, transported about 40 yards up a hill to that alcove directly below the victims, and the ladder was thrown to the C side. Firefighter ascended it, assisted 3 victims onto the ladder, and descended with them. This is from a different firefighter's perspective, so you can see that little jut in. That's where the outside air conditioning unit's set. We've got people on the ladder, but you can see how quickly those stairwells in the center of the building became involved, and now that fire's from front to back. You'll see a second ladder there. While all that was going on, the crews that were coming in didn't know that they had removed the one from the B side and took it to the C side, so they had grabbed another 35 off the truck and headed to the rear. So simultaneous to those rescues, so now we're at the 6-minute and 20-second mark. Simultaneous to those rescues, the water supply is being established, lines are being stretched by the folks that we could spare. The arriving firefighters from multiple companies began stretching 1 3/4 hand lines to the front, along with 2.5 hand lines and supply lines. They stretched 2.5 with gated Ys. Using our high-rise packs from the ladder and the engine, we're able to get additional lines on the fire in a short period of time. Water supply was an issue as at the hydrant that prevented the mounting of a really significant suppression effort with hand lines and delayed our ladder pipe flow, but Danville's Engine 5 was able to lay out to a hydrant connected to city water and provide us additional water for the suppression activities and to flow the aerial. But despite those challenges, firefighters were able to begin suppression activities less than a minute after the completion of the rescues. So this is, again, 6 minutes and some change into it, but you can see the involvement as this firefighter comes around the front of the building, how far that fire has progressed in a very short period of time when he's going to turn to his left, I promise. Just a second. But look at the number of hose lines that are out, and you start to see the first water flowing on the fire. So, in closing, my speech took less time than that entire rescue. The response to North Point on November the 12th was far from perfect. We all readily admit that. There are many lessons that can be learned as a result of this event for all parties involved. But tonight, I want to convey to you the sense of pride that I feel in the men and women that rose to the occasion early Sunday morning. Faced with what seemed like insurmountable odds, they did the work. And there are, at minimum, 5 people walking the earth today that wouldn't be here otherwise. I'll leave you with a quote from a former FDNY Fire Chief, Edward Coker, in the early 1900s. "I have no ambition in this world but one, and that's to be a fireman. The position may, in the eyes of some, appear to be a lowly one, but we who know the work which the fireman does has to believe that his call is a noble one. Our proudest moment is to save lives. Under the impulse of such thoughts, the nobility of the occupation thrills us and stimulates us to deeds of daring. Thank you, and stay safe."
Thank you, sir. Y'all have any questions for the presenter?
Good job.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Good job.
Chris, this may be an appropriate time to bring up a few things. I know the water supply at that building is a known issue. What can we do from this body to help correct that? Because I know, and Stephen, you correct me if I'm wrong, you guys had about 10 pounds of pressure on the hydrant you finally was able to get, but the first hydrant was dead, which delayed you trying to get water on the fire, which y'all did a tremendous job still working through that. So what do we need to do? Who's responsible for those hydrants, and why does it continue to fail every year, but nothing gets done to fix that issue?
Just due to the age, when it was put in, it met the specs at that time, it met the ordinance. What can we do? Really, I don't know. We're proposing a letter to the owner of the apartment complex to try to improve it. But that's going to involve digging it all up and, trying to replace it, or either putting in a booster pump.
So there are private hydrants in there?
Yes. When it comes off the road, that's the end of it. So.
And I guess that was,
It's at the same height that the closest water tower is. It builds off the pressure, the head pressure. Well, they're both basically at the same height. So it's not a lot of pressure that can be put on. We've discussed trying to get them to address a booster pump, but not definitely that's going to solve the problem.
got you. So they secured water from the city, which you had to take line back 1,300 foot, I was told, and then 1325, and then relay pump from engine 5 to 342. Is that correct? So, I mean, that's, again, it's private hydrants. I guess that's where my question was stemming is that a water authority issue, or is that private?
It's private. We're going to try to send a letter to Oakley address putting in a booster pump. Can't promise anything.
Gotcha. Well, I just want to say thank you guys for coming out and presenting. I think that's the first time in my 3 years being on a commission that somebody's actually come out and gave us a synopsis of a call. And I think that's amazing, number one, because some of these guys, that's good for them to be able to see that they may not do fire and rescue every day, but it's good for all of us. And I want to thank Blair's, your organization, for what you guys done and everybody that helped that day. I think at one point it was 100 firemen that responded to that call, from all over the Pittsylvania County. And, of course, public safety was out there, been out there for several days. The dispatchers that night, you couldn't ask for a better set of dispatchers. I'll just go on and say that. They knew immediately to page, a county-wide page, because they knew the significance of the fire they had. That takes training, that takes just, knowing your job and knowing what to do, and go ahead. Don't wait to be asked for that. Just go ahead and send it to them. They need the help, send it to them. Great job. And, I heard of state policemen throwing ladders and everything else, and that just shows that we can work together. From all walks of life, whatever your profession be, everybody was working together that night. So I think it's an awesome job, and it's a true testament to our volunteers in this county. They literally saved lives, and that's why we've been preaching and preaching and preaching. We need to support our volunteers, because they not only save the county millions of dollars every year, but they save lives, and you guys proved that night. So thank y'all. All right, we'll move on to hearing other citizens. Director Key, do we have anybody signed up? Okay, I will read the little synopsis real quick, and we'll let Mr. Tucker come up and speak. If I can find it. There it is. Each person addressing the board under hearing of the citizens shall be a resident or landowner of the county, or the registered agent of such resident or landowner. Each person shall step up, give his or her name and district in an audible tone of voice for the record, and unless further time is granted by the chairman, shall limit his or her address to 3 minutes. No person shall be permitted to address the board more than once during hearing of the citizens. All remarks shall be addressed to the board as a body and not to any individual member thereof. Hearing of the citizens shall last for a maximum of 45 minutes. Any individual that is signed up to speak during that said section who does not get the opportunity to do so because of the aforementioned time limit shall be given speaking priority at the next board meeting. Absent chairman's approval, no person shall be able to speak who has not signed up. Come on up, Mr. Tucker.
The Bannister District, I represent the Bannister District as supervisor, and I am here to basically speak on behalf of all of the residents of North Point and those that live in that apartment complex. We want to express our heartfelt thank you to all of public safety, all of fire EMS across the board. I will not try to name all of the units that showed up, and we sincerely, genuinely thank you from the bottom of our heart, even to the state troopers, even our county sheriff's department, to the 911 dispatchers. We do sincerely thank you because, the Bible teaches us that greater love have no man than this, than to lay down his life for a friend. So I salute and applaud every last one of you, and all of the firefighters especially. When others are comfortable and most of us run away from danger, you are running into danger. So we recognize that, and we also appreciate that. I went over and surveyed the damage, and I heard the stories, and there are a lot of stories coming out of this. Just to be clear, it was nothing short of just heroic on the part of the firefighters and also those that were involved in saving lives. And it was a miracle that there was no loss of life. Now, there are a lot of questions and a lot of issues that I want to take a look at as far as to be able to help you all do your job a little better. One being the water, and I think even though it's private property, it is a situation that the Board of Supervisors need to take a look at because that complex falls within Pittsylvania County's footprint, and namely in my district, and that's one of the things that I'm going to champion. Also, I looked at the driveway in the parking area. It's very narrow in there, so I want to talk to the owner and see if we can't come up with some type of collaboration to expand that, make it a little easier and accessible for you guys to get in and out of there. And I also, while I'm standing and speaking, I want to also express my gratitude for the community at large, for the outpouring of love and those that are coming to the rescue with clothing, shoes, food, whatever supplies individuals need. We thank also God's Pit Crew for their buckets that they are delivering to these residents. And I'm reminded of the story where Jesus says, on that day, I will say to you, when I was hungry, you gave me drink. When I was naked, you gave me clothes. And most of us will say to the Lord on that day, when did we do that? And Jesus will simply say, if you did it unto the least of these, you've also done it unto me. Gentlemen, I thank you again. I salute you, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. All right, brings us down to Fire and Rescue. I'm sorry, Mr. Key, anybody else? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fire and Rescue Association reports. Chief Neal.
Okay, Dean is working tonight, so I'm filling in for him. First off, I'd like to thank Mr. Bart's presentation they gave was good. That your response time, you're getting in there, pulling your equipment off, getting a game plan together, getting a quick hit means a whole lot, and all of y'all done fire know that, and they done a good job. And then I think they said everybody in the county showed up with a truck or manpower, so that's unreal, and it really shows the love and stuff we have for each other and working together with each other. Mr. Tucker, I appreciate you coming down. You was over, I understand, and saw it firsthand, so you know what we do, and we appreciate you taking that interest, and along with, the rest of your people, and we thank you on that. Also, we've had two big fires in the last week or so. You had North Point, and then a couple of nights ago, I think Tim vouched for Cascade, somewhere right in the edge of Carolina. Right. You had a big double wide that pretty much fully involved. They had had to go down long roads to get to it, and you had 7, 8 departments over there that pitched in. So it don't make no difference where it's at in this county, whether it's a southern end at Ringo or go all the way to the top at Grutton and Hurd or out where Tim and them at Bachelor's Hall, Cascade to Laurel Grove. I mean, everybody works together. So, I just want to thank everybody on that. We really didn't have a whole lot at the meeting last night that went over. I would just remind everybody, and we already know it, but you have to reiterate it a whole lot, even in our own state right now, around Bedford, Virginia. You got bad wildfires going up around Glasgow. Before I left, coming with Bert and Jimmy, they were showing on the news 2,700 acres has burnt. That's a 4x4 mile that's burnt already. And it's up in the mountain area, so naturally they're having a hard time getting to it. But we have the same conditions and possibilities down here because we hadn't had any rain. It's dry, dry. So, I know each department is sort of on alert, making sure your brush trucks are ready and your rakes and your backpacks and your, all kind of equipment, your tankers, you're ready to go if you have it. And certainly we need all our dispatch to punch out mutual aid. There's never not having enough people. One of the last thing I just wanted to mention, life's tough. I've buried, my department, since December last year, we buried 2 of our firemen, and I try not to get choked up. One of them was my daughter, Stephanie. She passed at 38, December 27th, so we right at 11 months on that. Stephanie was an EMT at Ringo since she was 18, and, just showing the brotherhood. I had people from Gretna and Laurel Grove and Blairs and different ones stood by our station while we done funerals. First part of July, another just total heartbreaker for us. We had a 42-year-old fireman, Chris C., who was, and I know you know him from South Boston and stuff, and Bert and them down there racing. Chris been with us since he was 16. I had 5 come in at 16 years old, and Chris was 42. He'd been in Ringo 26 years, and we had to go to his house that Monday morning because he didn't show up for work. And they had called from, he worked at Green Rock Prison, broke in his house, and unfortunately found Chris. He passed in his sleep in his bed, and so we had to go through that funeral. So it's heartbreaking, when you see stuff like that, and again, just shows your brotherhood. And I mentioned that to say this: in the last month or so, I know Blair's, done a real good job. Scott Eanes, we need to remember Scott Eanes and his family. Scott passed. He was 30 years Danville PD, 10 years Jimmy Danville Life Saving Crew, and he'd been at Blair 6-8 years, and he passed, and sons in Blair's department down there, and that was a big funeral. We call them a fire truck funeral. Some people might not like seeing it, but all these I've seen with fire truck funerals. It's heartbreaking, heart-touching if you ain't know the person. But anyway, just remember them in your prayers. And also David Johnson, he goes to our church, or went to our church at Ringo Baptist, and David was at Blair's, and he was also at Keelan, instrumental in the older days, and he passed and just had his funeral about a week ago. So remember the Eanes family and the Johnson family. Also, I got one good buddy of mine I want to bring up, Dave Burgess. And of course, my guys know him. Some of y'all know him. Jake and them know him. He's a 50-year firefighter for me. He's had some health problems the last 2-3 years. Me and my wife actually have been to Duke most of the day. Today, he had one toe amputated last week, had another one amputated yesterday. And he's really had a time the last year or so. So it's Dave Burgess. Just keep him in your prayers, please, and I appreciate it. And the last thing I would say is, it really shows me that it's a strong brotherhood in this county for volunteer fire and rescue. I'm talking about a strong volunteer. 648 of us plus. We have public safety, and a lot of public safety is in volunteers. Chris was the chief of Roswell before, battalion chief in Danville, so we all know the business. But I just want to reiterate, it's a strong love and a strong brotherhood in this county for these firefighters. And these firemen love their departments, they love the neighbors' departments, and most of all, they love the citizens in this county. And I think your presentation that Steve just showed a minute ago is a best example you could ever show, risking your life and saving them people. So I appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Neal. Appreciate that. All right, brings us down to item 11, county staff reports. Director Key.
I was going to go through my staff notes, but I just wanted to remind everybody that we are operating under a state of emergency as declared by the governor due to the extreme and moderate drought conditions. So with that, we do have a burn ban in effect. There's no open fires of any type outside unless it goes through a flue or chimney pipe. So just trying to get the word out. That's the hardest part because we're taxing our system right now. We've upped how many departments respond on brush fires now to 3 to try to help so that it does not get out of control. Just a reminder, just trying to get the word out to everybody out there. So if you have a banner at your station that you can put it on, please, address it appropriately. Burn ban is in effect, please. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Director Key.
Sir.
All right, any unfinished business from the commissioners? All right, brings us down to 13A. Board of Supervisors Communications, Mr. Vic Ingram. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to sort of echo what's already been said. You guys are rock stars. Every time I hear a story about a response such as Blair's and all the support you guys had, it's just remarkable. And to think that these are volunteers, these are men and women that don't do anything but sacrifice their time and their finances. And it's just remarkable. So I've said this many times, to say thank you is so inadequate. But I can tell you, there's 3 of my colleagues, in addition to myself, Mr. Tucker, Mr. Bowman, and Mr. Whittle. That in itself shows you that moving forward, January 1, it's going to be a new day in this county. And you're going to have the support that you deserve. And I'm not sure all of what we can do for you, but I know the heart of these men, and they want to make sure that you have the very best. And part of that very best is that you don't have to put up with derogatory comments from someone that sits on the board that should lift you up and thank you every chance we get. Mr. Tucker, I love your 2 references. John, no greater love. That is the epitome of service. And he talked about Matthew 25:35. When you talk about going forward and feeding and clothing, and it does add those in prison you visited. It's a beautiful piece of scripture. But really what I need to speak on is the ongoing effort of our Fire and Rescue Memorial. And so I want to give you a quick update, and it'll answer a lot of questions, but I'll also tell you that come the first of the year, that's when we're going to roll with it. The chairman gave me the privilege of putting together a small committee, and that's what we need, a small committee. We don't need a big committee. So it's myself, Bert Sellers, Brian Shields, and of course the chairman automatically serves on ad hoc committees. And so having went down this road years ago when Frankie Betterton was killed, Harold Plaster gave me the honor of being the chairman of the Memorial Project, which the end result is sitting in the courthouse square. So, you know, I understand all of the basic and the fundamental effort that went through to make that happen. And I will say, bar none, that was one of the most cherished memories that I have in law enforcement. Putting bad guys in jail and solving cases was nothing compared to being able to remember those that made that ultimate sacrifice. And so with this project, we've had setbacks, but I can tell you moving forward, that will be a thing of the past. So I made some quick notes, and at the December meeting, I would like to come up and do a presentation with some pictures and show you some options. But first of all, we do have to come up with a name, and the simplest name would be the Pittsylvania County Fire and Rescue Memorial. And I went through it with the Law Enforcement Memorial because you had a lot of people that wanted to remember those who had served. Well, a memorial is not designed for that. It's designed to remember those that made the ultimate sacrifice. And thankfully, in the county, we've lost two, one with the Tunstall Fire and Rescue and one with the Danville Lifesaver Crew. And this goes back to the 60s, and back then, that was pretty much all the rescue that we had in this county. And this particular crew member was en route to Tunstall when he was killed. So we have a rescue member and we have a fire member. In heaven, let's hope and pray we never have to add anybody to that list. But in order to incorporate those that you want to remember, the living members, and there's a ton of them in this room. One suggestion, and it's not my idea by no stretch of the imagination, but a dear friend of my family, Davis Newman, was the brainchild behind the Veterans Memorial at Dan Daniel Park. And the only names that went on those walls were those that died serving this country from the Civil War all the way up to Iraq and Afghanistan. So the pavers that as you walk around and view this beautiful memorial, are individual pavers. And my daddy was a World War II veteran, so I bought him one. Of course, I bought myself one. And, you know, as you walk to go look at those that had made that ultimate sacrifice, you can also see the living veterans that want to be remembered. And there's other possibilities by which that can happen, like benches and things such as that. So I've got a gentleman that's, as a matter of fact, he owns Oaks Memorial, and that's who we contracted to build the memorial before. And I know some of you might say, well, maybe we ought to get 2 and 3 other quotes. Well, I don't have a problem with that, but I can pretty much tell you that locally we'll get the best bang for the buck, and it will be heartfelt. So past the naming of the memorial, you have to have bylaws, and it has to be identified as a 501c3, which a lot of people, when they donate, they want to be able to donate however much they choose and have that tax exemption. So within the bylaws, you have to have the purpose, you have to outline who's going to be included, and what members you will include. You know, it's a committee call now, but we've had we've had firemen like from the city of Danville that I don't know if they lived in the county. Somebody asked me, would they be included? Well, that's again, you have to look at that. You don't want to dilute a county memorial by including people that never lived or worked here. And I don't mean that to sound brutal, but that's just the way that it is. There's 2 locations that we talked about that we're looking at, and the legal advice that I got was to wait till the first of the year and talk with my colleagues in closed session about land, and we have the authority to say, okay, we can put it here, and that will take care of that problem. Of course, you know, I'm a big stickler for lights and security. When I say security, I'm talking about surveillance cameras so that people, if they want to go at night, they can see it. But lights also help to identify bad guys that want to vandalize, and we unfortunately had that. As far as funding, you know, going back to our law enforcement memorial, there was several localities like the town of Chatham, town of Grattan, Hurt. All of them ponied up some money. But it's pretty much going to be a volunteer basis. And if those localities, and I would appeal to my colleagues, you know, let's figure out how much we can donate to this cause. But the cost may be as much as $25,000 plus. And one of the ideas, I'm going to say it, but I want to show you, and it's a centerpiece. But on that centerpiece is like the American flag with the blue line. You know, it's etched in that memorial. It's absolutely beautiful, but it's like the American flag laying across the top of it. You may not like it, but that's okay. That's just an idea. And then you could do other color etchings, you know, if you want to do an ambulance or a fire truck. But we'll bring you several options. But as far as the walkway up to and around it, these pavers, I'm talking with a friend of mine that's a brick mason, and he's going to help me with that. And what was recommended, you set a price per paver, and within that, you'd incorporate the cost of having it paved, which would include placement. And so there's a lot of particulars that go into the actual construction. That's why I snagged Bert to be on this committee. He knows. But I want to close by echoing what Mike said. You know, losing Stephanie and Chris and now Scott Eanes, you know, their names need to be somewhere. And I was just like Mike, you know, all three of these meant a lot to me and others in this room. So we'll do the best we can to remember them. But the memorial itself, you have to, the criteria, if we agree to embrace that, and I do suggest that we do, you have to either be killed in the line of duty or die as a line of duty death. That's the criteria. So anyway, we'll come back after first of the year and have a packet, and then we'll go from there. And I believe that's all I have. Thank y'all so much.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Very excited to get that project back up and rolling. We
Can we
worked
get-
hard on it, but,
How much money do we already have?
well, pretty much what you gave was as far as we got, because we got stopped on every end. So that's why I said I was going to let you lead it. You've done it before, so I'll let you lead it and tell us what we need to do to fix it this time.
Yes, sir. We'll get that money.
Yeah.
I have no doubt about that.
Thank you, sir.
But anyway, thank you, and I'm going to check out.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, this brings us down to item B, 13B, Budget Committee Update. Myself, the Director, Director Key, Deputy Director Scott, Hutcherson, the Chief Fowler, Steve Stallings, we all met again. We've met twice now and worked on this very, very hard. So right now, we had to submit the CIP budget request already. Now, the rest of the budget, you know, the everything that's not CIP will get submitted at the pretty much January. It goes in end of December, right at January. So we're trying to work on, we're going to meet again, probably 2 or 3 more times before that time gets here. And we're going to try to get you guys also involved on helping us finalize a budget to submit to the Board of Supervisors and to the county administration. I will update you on the CIP funds, though, because that stuff had to be submitted in November, and it's already been turned over to Kim Vanderhyde and Mr. Terrell to start working on. So we're looking to get another 100 portable radios. As you all know, our radios are at end of life, and so we've asked for a $40,000 increase to that line item just because of the cost of those radios are expensive. The fire apparatus replacement, we replace 2 fire apparatus a year for the agencies in a rotation, and so we've asked for a $50,000 per truck increase, so that would be $100,000 total. And again, that's just trying to keep up, guys, with the times. You know, a fire truck now 6-man cab is costing about $1 million. Depending on what you get, you can take a few things off, but it's still going to cost you, you know, around about $1 million. So that being said, we're trying to update that to $50,000 extra, so it'll be a $100,000 increase. And then no change on the brush truck, so you still would get $100,000 on your brush truck. if that's what you choose to use your money on. And then an ambulance replacement, y'all know we currently have the point system. It kind of mirrors the state of Virginia, how they give their Rescue Squad Assistance Fund monies. It's the same way here in Pennsylvania County. This commission established that and the board adopted it several years ago. So if you want to replace an ambulance, get with Chris. He's got the document with the points. I think it's 40 points you got to have to get the county money. And so that we've asked for a $50,000 increase as well on both ambulances. We can give up to 2 a year, so that'll bring that up $100,000. That's all I have to update you guys on. That's what we had to submit. If y'all have any questions, you can ask, and I'll try to answer them. And you can always reach out to myself or Director Key or Chief Fowler. And like I said, we'll be meeting again in the future to get you guys the rest of the budget and hopefully have you guys something either in December or 1st of January that we can all get together and go through and make sure everybody's okay with it, ask questions, and then get it sent up to the Board of Supervisors. So, anybody have any questions? All right. Brings us down to 13C, Recruitment and Retention. Vice Chair Kermit King.
During that, Director Key, Chief Neal, Commissioner Casper, and myself was on that committee. We've been having a hard time getting the meeting off the ground, but Director Key and I have been in some discussion on some things, but hopefully we can get a meeting squared away in December and have something to report back to the body at large in January.
Yeah, we're just trying to do research right now to determine, what all we can come up with for the recruitment and retention. So any suggestions, please bring them forward. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Any of the commissioners that may have a suggestion, or any of the fire chiefs out there, agencies, if you have something you would like, let these guys know. You can bring it here, or you can go direct with them, and we'd like to try to put together something to help with our recruitment and retention. So thank y'all for doing that. All right, that brings us down to 13D, the VOLSAP program. I wanted to touch on that. There's been some misconception on the VOLSAP program, so to kind of explain. And again, I don't know all the ins and outs in it because I don't participate in it. But that's a program through the state of Virginia. And Chris, if I get off track, you fix it for me. But it's through the state of Virginia that you can put monies towards as a volunteer to sort of go as a retirement. You can pay into it each month, and then after so many years, you can draw your retirement. And I think it gains a little bit of interest. We approached that. Do you know what year? Chief Neal, you might know. Do you know how long ago we brought that up to see if the agencies wanted to participate?
It's probably been at least 10, 12 years.
Okay.
I think it's been over about 20 now.
Yeah,
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I know Keelan and some of them got in
Yeah,
it
it's
first.
been close to 20
a number of
years or better now.
Okay. So what I wanted to put out is that is an option that's there, and the Recruitment and Retention Committee can, y'all think about that. But I wanted to also put it out there. It was kind of being stated that the commission or the association had done away with that, and that's not true. That's not accurate. Actually, what happened with that, it was brought up again from much as I can remember, it was about 10 years ago, and again about 4 years ago. So it's been brought up from time to time to kind of re-energize people to remember that program. But basically, the county puts forth the funding to help to pay for that to get it going, I guess.
It's reimbursed.
Reimbursed. And so it's there and it's available, but this commission and the association didn't take that availability away from any volunteer. Like I said, that rhetoric was put out, and that's not true. What happened was, to be honest, it just doesn't really have much of a return, and folks were seeing that they could just put it in their own savings and draw more interest. So folks just didn't participate. It was brought up at the association level to continue reimbursing money towards it, or use that money elsewhere for other operational needs that these departments need to operate. We opened it up to every department in the county. We only had 2 agencies in the county that come back and said they wanted to participate out of 21. And again, I'm trying to go off memory on this because Chief Fowler's not able to be here tonight. He would know for sure. But that program was offered. 19 of the agencies said, no, thank you. We'd rather put that funding somewhere else. But again, if that's something you guys want to bring it up again, we'll bring it up and put it out there. So, all right. That's all I got on that. All right, that's going to bring us down to other matters from the commission members. We'll start over here to our left. Director Key.
Nothing else to add, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rowland.
Well, I was a volunteer for many years, and all I can say is I'm real proud of the volunteers. They're exceptional, and I appreciate your services.
Thank you, sir. All right, brings us down to Mr. Stallings.
Once again, it's an honor to be here, and it's real heartwarming to see what took place recently with the big fire that we had, and it's real nice to see the presentation tonight and to see board members come out and support that, and looking for a lot of good things going forward here.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Shields.
I just want to say thank you to a lot of people. Mr. Bartz, your presentation, Blast Fire Department, and putting that together. I was looking forward to seeing it tonight. And, you know, a lot of agencies came together. As Chief Neal said, it looks like all of them came together. A lot of agencies represented that night that probably won't mention, and sometimes when I start mentioning, then I forget. But to the men and women across this county, what you do does not go unnoticed, and I want you to know that. I've looked at Gretna's post this week and the fires that they've had, and as Tim and them went to fires this week, but to all of you that have gone to calls all week and every day, thank you so much. To the law enforcement agencies, that's just thank you, and to the dispatchers, I couldn't help but think of how overwhelming that was at night to have that magnitude of fire, and to have all of the agencies involved and communications that went out. And to Mr. Tucker for being there, representing your district, thank you. And to the newly elected officials, thank you for being here tonight. I noticed the Red Cross done an amazing job. God's pit crew, and they always do. In years past, I relied on them a lot, and they've always come through. And I just want to say, I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, sir. All right. Chief Casil.
I just want to thank everybody for what they do. I feel like personally a burden's been lifted off of me. I don't know about you guys. Some recent events. North Point, excellent job, guys. Excellent job. And like Brian, everybody else has said, it couldn't have been done by yourself. Everybody came together. You know, whether you got animosity towards each other or anything like that, you get stuff like this, it goes out the window. Everybody's there to do a job. Everybody does a job. You got people that are trained, you got people that are learning. You got to train those. Then you've got excellent people all the way around. I just want to thank everybody for what they did over there. And one other thing, Bachelor's Hall is having a stew this weekend. It'll be ready at 8 o'clock Saturday morning.
Thank you, Tim. Coleman Mayhew. Commissioner Coleman.
Just like to say thank you for everything the volunteers do. It's greatly appreciated. And Chief Neal, I sympathize with you. I know a lot of the volunteers have lost family members and things like that over the last year. It's been very tough, and we're just keeping y'all in our prayers.
Thank you, Coleman. All right, Chief Neal, we'll go back to you.
I think I said enough. I believe Casel's getting a little bit of me in him. He's advertising that stew on television. But anyway, I have no other comment.
Vic spoke to me, guys, before, just so y'all know why he left. You could tell he was feeling under the weather, so he asked to if he could just step away after he finished his communications. So, Commissioner Casper.
I'd just like to say congratulations to our newly elected Board of Supervisors members and our re-elected Board of Supervisors members. I'm very much looking forward to the coming year as this commission and our board work to continue to make Pittsylvania County a great place to live. And
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sellers.
First of all, I realize that the time that Mr. Bart spent making his presentation, he spent a lot of time somewhere other than tonight doing it, and we appreciate that time. And Mr. Tucker, you getting up and speaking, all of it gives us a good sense of pride for being part of this community, especially the firefighting community. And we appreciate what all of you do. And when you come here, when the Board of Supervisors come here and are seen, we feel like that they have got our backs and they are interested in what we're doing, and we really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Jimmy Holly.
Yeah, I too like to say thank you, Stephen. That was an excellent presentation. Great job. Great job by all the firefighters at North Point that night. Thank you to public safety, all the volunteers, and I too hope that everyone has a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, sir. Vice Chair.
Yes, first off, I just thank you to all the volunteers. Like I said, Mr. Bart's great job. And thanks to Blast for getting it started on the right note. Because if it starts good, it ends good. And thank you, congratulations to all the newly elected officials. Mr. Tucker, thank you for being there, representing your people in your district. That speaks volumes to us. But like I said, Mike, we know, you always in our thoughts for your losses. Because I come see you every now and then, I talk to you. But like I said, just thank everybody for what they did over at North Point. Like I said, no lives were lost. And like I said, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I just want to reiterate what some of my colleagues have said tonight, and I don't even know where to start. First of all, I want to thank the commissioners, you guys coming out every month and listening to me ramble. I appreciate y'all being here and working for the greater good of Pittsylvania County and for our volunteers and public safety. I want to thank our volunteers for what they do, not just at North Point, but across the county. But, Stephen, great presentation tonight. Again, like I said, that's the first time in 3 years I've been on a commission that anybody's come and actually critiqued a call here or gave a synopsis of a call, and I'd like to see more of that if we could. So, again, it ain't always got to come from Blair's, and I hope we don't have any more fires, but we know inevitably we're gonna have fires. But that's how we learn, right? We find issues and then we fix it. So I really appreciate you guys coming out and showing that to us and opening some eyes on some things. I appreciate all the volunteers that responded down there. Just excellent job. I was actually headed to work, so I couldn't go to the call. I listened to it. I was calling my guys, telling them, get up, go get on the engine, go down there and help them. Get the ambulance, go down and help them. I was calling Chief Fowler, hey, we got the MCI trailer, we can send pallets of water, whatever you need. But I was just so proud and impressed. Obviously at first I was nervous and worried because how that fire happened and no fatalities occurred is just amazing. It really is. It just shows that the good trained firemen we have in this county, again at Blair's and everywhere else that come down and helped, nothing short of a miracle. And so there's, like you said, 5 souls and probably more, but 5 at least you know of are walking the ground tonight because of our volunteer agencies, the training they put in, and their attack that night. And like Vice Chair said, he's retired Danville City fireman. He knows better than anybody. A lot of times, if it starts wrong, it's going to go wrong. If it starts good, it's going to go good. And you guys started it good and set the foundation for everybody else to come in and help. So that meant a lot. You could tell that on the radio. Even with how large it was still a methodical process. Boom, boom, boom. We don't have water supply, move to option B. And that's impressive. I want to thank Mr. Tucker tonight for coming out and speaking. It means a lot. And that's what a true leader, going down there, showing up for your constituents, and then coming here tonight to help us address a problem. So I can speak for, I hope, all this commission. Anything we can do, Mr. Tucker, to help you with that situation, we'll be glad to. I know the other night during our budget meeting, we got off on sidetrack just a little bit talking about the fire, and that was one of the main things we were talking about was the water supply. You have that many folks living there. We need good water supply there. So I hope that's something we can fix. I want to congratulate Mr. Bowman, Mary Whittle, and again, Mr. Tucker for y'all's elections and re-elections to our board, and the rest of them that won elections, congratulations. And again, Mike, our sympathies are still with you and with all the fire and rescue across the county. The last 3 weekends, I spent every Sunday taking fire trucks, as Mike said, fire truck funeral, to funerals for either current or past members or family, direct fathers of a family member from our station. And it means a lot. Renan sent a truck up and stood by for us while we attended a funeral a couple weeks ago. And Blair's has come up several times. Chatham, anybody we always call, yeah, we'll be right there. And that's the brotherhood, you know, and sisterhood that we have with each other. It's just amazing. It is sad, like I said, to attend those funerals, but it's our opportunity to pay the respects and give back for somebody that's done so much for everyone in this county. So again, thank you to all of our mutual aid departments. Talking about the fires, we had a structure fire last night, basement fire, come out 3 trapped. Fortunately, they were able to get out. I want to thank my guys and all the mutual aid departments that responded to that. They got a great attack on that fire, saved that house, was able to search and make sure nobody else was trapped. And Alta Vista Fire Department sent a ladder over and helped. Hurt was there, Chatham, Renan, several agencies from the north end. But I know if we'd have called Blair's or Ringo, they'd have sent a truck, because that's just what they do. So I appreciate a lot of loss in the community, though, right here at the holidays. So remember these folks that's lost everything from fires. And please remember, tell folks, do not burn right now. It's so dry. I don't know what the final, if I added it all up, I seen it earlier on Responding Fire, but I just guesstimate it's 15 to 20,000 acres on fire right now in the state of Virginia. And so, you know, I know over where I work at BWX, it's smoke. It's so thick around our facility, and it's coming in. They're having to shut the AC and heat off to the buildings because it's coming in the buildings. All you can smell trying to work. And it's crazy. Those fires are so far away, but they're so big that the jet stream is just pulling it down there to us. So please tell folks, do not burn. If you need the fire marshal's office, call. Scott can come out and give an adjustment if need be. But a lot of your community members, they just don't know. So most of the time, if you just educate them, they're going to be fine with it and put it right out. But thank you all. I look forward to, we got one more meeting this year, and then you guys need to be thinking about January. We'll have to elect a chairman and a vice chair. So that'll be coming up, and I look forward to working with the new board members. Thank you for all the ones out in the audience that come out tonight. And that's all I have. Any other business? If not, we'll adjourn.